Have you ever felt like your voice was being ignored? Think back to a time when your voice was being ignored, or you felt like you weren't being heard. How did that make you feel? No, you pressed it twice. As someone born mixed and born an indentured servant, William Apess was no stranger to his beliefs, values, and ideas being ignored by others around him. Forced to take risks to get his voice heard, William Apess was no stranger to major setbacks, even after he made progress in accomplishing his goals. He used his communication skills to land positions of power in organizations and groups that shared ideas with him. And using his position, he gained a platform of followers and used that platform to accomplish his goals. William Apess is walking proof that in order to accomplish your goals and spread your ideas, you need to gain support to get a platform and then spread your ideas using that support.
Apess liked to spread awareness for his voice. He left the remaining of his family to spread his own word and knowledge. He grew up in Massachusetts and Connecticut. He had some troubles with racism, hunger, and child abuse. So his mother abandoned him, and then his dad abandoned him too later on. So he had to live with his grandmother, who abused them very bad. And this also served him some hope, because he received 3 years of education from an active African American who worked on starting up schools in Haiti. And Apess liked to confront people about their racism. I got that from a website. Last name is Gura. And then he also spent years in the military in the War of 1812. This was followed by a long journey of him finding his own voice through teaching and preaching.
Overcoming setbacks. A quote by William Apess that was found on a website was that, "I was alone in the world, fatherless, motherless, and helpless, and none to speak for the poor little Indian boy. Had my skin been white, and the same abilities and the same parentage, there could not have been a place good enough for me. Their judgment of fancy only sets upon the eyes, skin, nose, mouth, and chin, sometimes the forehead and hair. Without any further examination, the mind is made up and the price is set." We need to occur Native American writers. Apess struggled with his life at home. Like Christian said, faced hunger, racism, and abuse. He did not have an easy life or childhood to start out. Apart from childhood struggles, he also faced others pushing back him and his beliefs, values, and as he began to voice his opinion more, the downfall was that he could not change how others saw him and how he was perceived. Revising the Christian faith was not easy, and the struggle of racism, despite his setbacks, he was blessed with the opportunity to be educated and literate. He was able to speak intellectually as well as spiritually with the hope of a more harmonic world for others.
William Apess had a major impact on a lot of different communities. He helped both the Methodist church community and the community of Native Americans, especially on the eastern coastline. He was one of the earliest Native American writers to write in English, as well as one of the earliest Native Americans to write an autobiography and to document the colonization of his people on the eastern coast. He was writing to correct the historical representation of his people, and he often was an outspoken person in public, and this led him to gain a position as a religious and tribal leader for the Mashpee tribe. He used that to represent them in court against Harvard and Michigan State, and in which case I believe they won the court case. On the article about his autobiography, scholarsworks.com states, as he became a religious and tribal leader for the Mashpee, he led them to a rebellion against the state government, which led to a measure of self-rule This image is part of that rebellion, and they eventually got themselves a little respect or a little rights from the government, and were able to hold on to their land for a little bit longer due to his impact on their people.
A pest received a call, or no, my bad.
From the book Into the Wilds, there's a quote that states from Chris McCandless. He says, "I'd like to repeat the advice that I gave you before, and that I think you really should make a radical change in your lifestyle and begin to boldly do things in which you may previously have never thought of doing, or have been hesitant to attempt." Chris McCandless, like William Apess, urged others to change. The book Into the Wild shows this letter by McCandless urging a friend to make a change in the direction of his life. Apess centered his life also around reforming others' beliefs and ideals into one, which would lead them into a life of enlightenment. Both McCandless and Apess were selfish in order to reform a life of repetitiveness and appeal to others' well-being.
By now, you should know how you can make the most impact with your voice. Apess said he received a call from the Lord to preach the gospel about the Lord, and that was from Ethan Goodnight. How can you use your voice to have huge implications, not only on you, but those around you? Apess knew how to use his voice to accomplish his goals, and then he did this by using sacrifice and risk to get out of a platform where his voice can be heard. And his tough childhood of abuse, hunger, and things like that really set him up for success in the future by having hardships at such a young age. And the last thing is, how can you make your voice heard?